All right. Give Facebook land a few moments to come in. I always get my notification. I'm gonna give them just a few seconds to come in. I'm gonna share this from my other page. Excited about this conversation tonight.
Yes, me too.
Totally excited.
I'm always excited to get caregivers, any kind of resources.
I love it.
So,
because it's so, a lot of people don't, they don't know where to find the resources.
Right. It takes years sometimes.
Yeah, and I try to do all I can to make sure I can get it out there for people so that they can, have it at their hands.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to share it to my page, and then we're going to get this conversation started. All right. I usually share it from my caregivers page and then share it. And so it's on Facebook and YouTube.
Right.
All right, Facebook land. So I'm excited tonight. I'm gonna do a watch party right quick while everybody is coming in. But they don't know where down, so can't hear me. All right, so I am excited tonight to be back on the My Favorite Girls Caregiver Facebook Live. And as you all see down there at the bottom, we have caregiver love wrapped up in a matter of choice. Y'all know that is my tagline, one of them that I use quite frequently. And I am excited tonight. I have special guest on tonight, Katie Rodriguez, and she is a research coordinator in the Neuropsychology and Structural Neuroimaging Laboratory at the University of Florida. She's been coordinating research studies on aging and dementia for the last 4 years and is currently recruiting for a study that helps family caregivers caring for aging loved ones with dementia. Katie is a graduate of the University of Florida. I'm sorry. No. Of the University of Florida with a neurobiological science degree. And she hopes to continue her education in graduate school where she will be studying neuropsychology. Welcome, Katie. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. And to those of you that are tuning in, y'all, thank y'all so much. Go ahead, if you would take a moment and like and share the page. Get as many caregivers as you can on, because we're going to give out some good information on tonight. As you all know, my caregiver role has been going on now for about 4 years, actually going on 5 years. It didn't seem like it's been that long, but it's been almost 5 years with my mom. Been living with her now for going on 4 years. Well, she lives with me, going on 4 years. And no, we've been living, I've been living in the same house with her for going on 4 years. And then, of course, my grandmother. So you all know this is near and dear to my heart. And Katie and I actually met this past Monday.
Mm-hmm.
A great conversation. As I told her, I'm a Seminole, diehard Seminole. She's a UF, she's a Gator, but at the end of the day, we're on the same team. And
exactly.
As we discussed on Monday, as long as, we're not playing football or basketball, we're not rivals.
If we were, then we could maybe have that, kind of little rivalry going on. But when it comes to caregiving, we come together.
That's right. We're on the same team. And
yeah.
She and her research team, they're conducting a study that I really wanted to share with those of you that are on. I know I have some friends who they too are caregivers. So while we're on here, if you have any questions at all for us, or for Katie, please feel free to post your questions. We'll answer as many as we can, but really just wanted to get this information out because, as I was saying earlier, there are a lot of times caregivers don't have a clue. Some of them don't have a clue. Some of them know very little about where to find different resources. And for myself, you all know I do everything that I can to bring as much knowledge and education as I can to caregivers, especially for those of demented loved ones, those who care for people with dementia. It's a different type of world. A lot of times, especially now with COVID, it's really different world over here with COVID because you're not, at least me, I'm not going out much at all. And that's because of the fact that I do have my mom and my grandmother. And so I'm not taking certain chances just because it's not fun to be able to, if anybody goes in the hospital, God forbid, I can't be there, and I'm not good with that. So because that weighs heavily on me, I kind of go where I have to go, and then I'm back at home. So again, Katie, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
I'm actually, as you all will hear in just a moment, she's going to talk a little bit about what she's doing. But I've actually, my friends over at the Alzheimer's Association reached out to me as a caregiver. They know I'm an advocate. They know I'm passionate about what I'm doing, just to be a part of the research that they're doing. And so far, what I've looked at on the website, there's a lot of great information out there. And as I was sharing with Katie on Monday, one of the things that I love about it is that, and I haven't gone through a complete module yet, but I'll get to that tonight and tomorrow, simply because I like to share it. So I already told her when I find things that I really, really like, she'll probably see it on social media because it's one of the quickest ways to get it out there. But we want you all to also be able to take advantage of this opportunity because it gives you the opportunity. I like the PDFs. I like to
the
be
PDFs
able
are great.
to download the PDFs and have that information. I think that's wonderful. So I'm gonna step back for a minute and give Katie an opportunity. Just tell us a little bit up front, just even your past caregiver experience. How did you get involved with wanting to get into the neuropsychology side of everything?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually grew up with a dad who was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's when he was 38. And so I've been kind of sort of like a family caregiver for my dad ever since I was pretty young. And so as I got older, I really started to be fascinated with the brain. And so as I got into college, I decided that that's sort of what I wanted to focus on when I was studying for my degree. And I thought I wanted to go to medical school and decided after being in a neuropsychology lab for about 4.5 years, worked on quite a few different research studies, all kind of related to aging and dementia and predictors of dementia. And actually part of that was a study on how people with Parkinson's disease tend to experience cognitive impairment to a greater extent than the general population. So I worked on a study that was longitudinal, so it was over the course of time. And it was actually so fulfilling. It kind of really just made me think how I wanted to continue my research in things that had to do with the brain and how we think and how we process. And a big part of that has been working in this neuropsychology lab and working with people who either even healthy older individuals and people who have some level of cognitive impairment. It's been incredibly fulfilling. And this study especially is a different place in my heart because of the fact that I have been a caregiver and I do understand the changes and the grief and the, how it affects a family dynamic. And I really believe in the research that we do. And so it's important to me to be there and help and get as many resources to other caregivers, whether it be you're caring for your mom or your dad, or somebody with a disability or a neurodegenerative disorder, whether it be Alzheimer's, dementia, or even Parkinson's. Caregivers need support, and especially family caregivers. And there really is a lack of resources. And it's unfortunate because there's so many of us.
Yeah.
And I think if there is ever an opportunity for me to share what I think is a valuable resource, I have to do it. I feel almost like it is a duty of mine. So I really hope that some caregivers who are watching this feel like they might be ready for a research study, because I really believe that this is great resources for you, and you're helping the research community. So it's really a win-win. And I really think that it can be a valuable resource, especially for caregivers who are caring for someone with dementia or even mild cognitive impairment. So that's sort of my spiel.
Yeah, and I'm like, when you're over in it and you
Yeah,
realize, like, man, I mean, because there's nothing more than you know, that you want other than a cure for something like this.
yeah,
To be able
absolutely.
to study it. So, you know, my question, even with you doing research, how important is it for people to, you know, become a part of these studies to help with the research and, you know, that dynamic of it? How important is that? Because a lot of times people's like, no, I don't want to be a part of that. But if you don't have, you know, people participating,
Absolutely.
then you can't get the answers you need.
You can't you can't progress in the science world. And yeah, you're right. It is so crucial. You actually bring up a great point. And it is so important because if we want to continue to make progress, and we want to continue to really get into trying to find a cure, or at least getting closer, we need people to participate in research studies, and there's power in numbers. And these things take a long time to do. And
Yeah.
so recruitment is only a short part of a research study. And so there are so many other components. And the call to action is really something that can really progress research at a faster rate. And that's really what we struggle with, because, if we could reach more people, and we could make research studies more available, or, we were reaching out to more people, we could probably really make some great progress, especially in the Alzheimer's and dementia world. I know people are working so hard, and we really need participants to be sort of like, for lack of a better word, guinea pigs for the research world. And it's so important.
Yeah, you need it. You know, a lot of times, and this one, and I want you to get into, you know, the particular study that you're doing right now, but for this one, it's not difficult at all. This is
Right.
actually a great help for caregivers. You know,
Absolutely.
we're not, it's good because, you know, some people like, no, I'm not a lab rat. I'm not, I'm not,
Right. No,
how
you're
do you
totally right.
answers, you know, without it? I know for my mom, and I think I shared with you on Monday, for our family, Alzheimer's, dementia seems to be genetic,
Hmm.
more so on the Alzheimer's, you know, just because of the pattern with it. One of the doctors told me even recently that it's more Alzheimer's related for her, because you're talking about her mom, her dad, her siblings. And so, but I'm like, with that, you know, I've really been thinking about, like, okay, I probably need to become a part of some type of a study, you know,
Yeah.
just because we want to stop it. You know, I mean, we're looking for a cure, we're praying for a cure for it. You know, I mean, my faith is definitely the sustainer for me, even during, you know, with being a caregiver, and I do believe in the power of prayer beyond anything. But at the same time, you know, I mean, you do need those that studies can follow to try and see the different development, what's going on. You know, I mean, we know with dementia, in Alzheimer's, it's the plaques on the brain. You know, a lot of those plaques start developing on the brain and they kill the brain cells and, you know, all that. So, you know, how does all of this develop over time? That's what we need to know when it comes to families, because we want to stop this. You know, I mean, at the rate that it's going, and we talk about this a lot, at the rate that it's going, you know, it's happening so fast with people. It's like everybody probably knows somebody who either has Alzheimer's, cares for someone with Alzheimer's, or you've been around at this point. I know growing up, um, you know, the way we looked at it, we just kind of considered it as something that older people get, you know, and because it was so familiar for my family, we really didn't even think. I mean, I didn't, you know, being so young, I didn't think about it at the time to even think that, wow, you know, this could really gradually become, you know, my grandmother had it and she lived with us. It never dawned on me that one day my mom could be in that same position. Never dawned on me, you know, until I came face to face with it. And it's like, wow, you know, and so me, definitely, I'm like, it's not something that I want to see for me or my children. And so, you know, yes, that's why I'm, you know, I'm on educating, helping. I mean, and it's not just older people. And I know you can tell from research, it's, you know, there's a lot of early onset now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we don't know why, but there's a lot of early onset dementia. When I say early onset, you're talking about people that are 55 and on. What is her name? Oh my gosh, one of the first books I read on Alzheimer's. I can't think of her last name, but at any rate, she passed away earlier this year from Alzheimer's, and she had been dealing with it for a couple years, but she had an early onset. I think she was 60 when it was diagnosed. And so, you know, you don't ever think like, wow, something like that. And I know you said your dad was 38,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm like, that's really young.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
was it something that ran in your family, or it was just a random?
We don't know. We think, you know, maybe in my dad's side of the family, you know, my dad's grandfather, so my great grandfather probably had it at the end of his life. But early onset was not anything that we had experienced in any like realm of like the neurodegenerative diseases. So yeah, we just didn't expect it. And how could you? Then that's kind of like touching on what you said. Sometimes you just don't think that it's going to happen to you, and it just kind of takes you by surprise, and you sort of have to make do with what you have and figure it out.
Right.
And yeah, and that's really a big part of it. It's not easy, but you do what you have to do for the people that you love,
Right.
and that's like the bottom line, you know.
And
But
that's exactly it. You do what
yeah,
you need to do. Like that says, it's love wrapped up in a matter of choice. You know, you
totally.
have to choose to do it. So I'm not going to keep going on about that. Tell us a little bit, or tell us a lot
Yes.
about the study that you're doing and what it is you all are looking for, so that, you know, we can get this information out there.
Definitely. So we are doing a research study right now, and we are recruiting caregivers who are caring for aging loved ones with some level of cognitive impairment. So what we're doing is we are getting these caregivers access to an online training program that's designed to educate and support family caregivers who are caring for somebody over the age of 65 with dementia, or even anything as mild as like just mild cognitive impairment. And so we are looking for caregivers right now who can get access to this free platform. And it's a 30-day study period. And we check in with you at 4 times during that study period, where we ask you questionnaires through email, things that relate to your caregiving situation, and how you care for your loved one. And then in addition to that, basic knowledge of dementia and then how that changes over time. And so I feel really passionately about this study because of how valuable this platform has been for so many caregivers that I've worked with thus far. And even seeing it when they first brought it to us at the University of Florida, I saw this and I was like, this is amazing and so, so, so needed. So I've really heard some great feedback from the caregivers who have been in the study. And I think it's a really great opportunity if you are over the age of 18 and you are fluent in written and verbal English and you are relatively proficient on the computer. I think this could be a really great resource, and you would be giving to the research community and helping us understand and hopefully better disseminate resources to caregivers who are caring for someone with dementia, because it can be hard, but I really think that having these online resources can be a really great way to educate yourself as a family caregiver. So it's really a win-win, and we are trying to recruit as fast as possible. We end at the end of June, so we have just a few more days to get in as many caregivers as we can. And so, yeah, if you guys are interested, I can see my email address floating down at the bottom. And so contact me as soon as possible. I would love to give you some more information, tell you kind of what the process would be. And once you reach out to me, I am pretty quick to respond. Send me your phone number and we can hopefully get the process started and get you enrolled in the study and hopefully get you some really great online resources to help you caregive for any of your family members that are experiencing cognitive impairment.
And I will tell you, because I look at quite a few websites. I'm on the Alzheimer's Association website a whole lot. They provide great information. And I will tell you from what I looked at, and they are in partnership as well. Let me say that.
Yes.
With the Alzheimer's Association. So there's no competition there. It's all about getting information out and being able to provide good, solid, well studied out information that actually works for people. And so far, from what I have scrolled through on the website, it is very good information. There's a lot of it that I'm going to be utilizing even the more for my mom, because some of the behaviors that are being exhibited now, I am looking for other resources to say, okay, how do I deal with this? Because it's new. There's some things like, for instance, this week, part of it is probably because, she's at a stage where, bath time, and I say this a lot, but bath time is the most difficult. It is literally the most difficult time. But even now, she's at a point where she started pulling her hair out. And I'm like, what is this all about? And she has no idea. And so, I'm looking for different resources to say, okay, how do we deal with this? How do we approach this? And you're also looking for different approaches, but all of this information, or quite a bit of it, is on this website that they're talking about. And this is just simply information for you. This is information that, there's videos, there's little quizzes that you take at the end just to make sure that you have learned something from the research that you're doing. So, so far, and like I said, I just started this on Monday, but so far it appears to be very helpful. And that, along with information that you're getting from the Alzheimer's Association. You all know I talk about the Alzheimer's Association all the time. That is one of the greatest organizations, that I found to be extremely helpful. But between the resources, between the Alzheimer's Association and give me the name of the company, I have it written down, but the website, Katie, is True. I don't want to call it the wrong name.
It's Trualta, trualta.com.
I have a bookmark. It's Trualta. That's it. I was
True.
like,
I know. Sometimes it gets a little weird off the tongue.
yeah. And so, I'm like, it's excellent information. And like I said earlier, the PDFs are life,
Yeah.
especially because, if you're the caregiver and you have siblings, because see, sometimes you have siblings and different ones who may not, because they're not right there in it with you. And so they may not understand the depth of what you're saying when you talk about certain things happening, or,
Definitely.
if you have somebody that's coming in to care for your loved ones. I know for me, with the nature of my job, I travel. And so if I have someone here, because I know that these behaviors are going on, it's good information that you can have printed out that you can give to your caregiver that's there in your stead, that will help them, as well with this, because people deal with it differently, but you need these resources. And a greater part of it as well is to understand that when you see these behaviors being exhibited and you realize that there's information out there for it, it's another way too for you to realize that you're not in this by yourself. Because sometimes it's so easy to feel like you're in the middle of this thing all alone. You don't know what to do. And sometimes you feel like nobody is dealing with it but you. But when you look at these resources, it gives you that, like, oh, okay, somebody else dealt with this and this is how they deal with it. There's also video information. I was telling Katie, one of the ladies, when we were first scrolling through, I was like, I know her.
Deepest Snow.
Seen her, yeah.
Yes,
And
she is so good.
YouTube, yeah, and she has a lot of good YouTube videos out there. So this is good information that they've pulled together
Mm-hmm.
as a resource to help
Yes,
caregivers.
like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's I wish that they at the doctor's office or wherever you are getting your evaluation after you get a diagnosis, to have access to this resource would be so beneficial, because
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
such good material that's really created in combination with experts in their field. So it's really great professional content that talks to you at any level, and really in a way that you can understand it. And I love the Tifa Snow videos because she is just so funny and she gets it. And she helps you understand the person that you're caring for. And that is so, so important, I think, when we're talking about Alzheimer's and dementia, is that it's not them, it's us. It's we don't understand them and we
Right.
don't understand how to best help them. And so having this resource at that time point, or really just in the beginning stage of a diagnosis, to give this to a family caregiver would be so valuable.
It would be.
There's so many different things that to learn, from dressing to bathing to how to communicate better, to what questions to ask at the doctor. It is just very broad and quick to read and go through. Some of the Tifa Snow videos, I will say, get a little long, but they're so worth it, honestly.
Yeah.
I have caregivers who have to just like write down where they stop so that they make sure that they go back and they finish it and they get all of it done. So
and she's engaging. She's not a boring presenter.
so engaging.
So,
Yeah.
it's not one of those green eyes.
It's not boring.
Yeah.
It's really not.
So,
she's so great and she's funny, and it's such valuable information. And you're like, wow, I didn't know that. And that's the thing is sometimes you feel so isolated and you feel like you're going through this on your own, and such crazy weird things are giving you problems with whoever you're caring for, and you feel like you're the only one experiencing that. And I think Tipa really touches on like those things that a lot of people don't realize that everybody else kind of experiences in some way, shape, or form. And so she really validates you and helps you understand why they're doing what they're doing and how to best approach how to interact with them. And especially it's hard because you are not only a caregiver, but you are their son or daughter or spouse or any sort of family member. It makes it a more challenging dynamic. And so I really think this is something that a lot of caregivers should have access to. And I hope that this will, be something that they will have in the future, or have more and better access to it. That's really where the gap sort of lies right now.
Yeah, the access. And the other good thing about it is if you're working and you can't read it, they have a function that it will read to you.
Oh,
I
yes.
think that,
I love that one.
that's amazing. You can sit here and you can work and you can put it on, whichever badge it is you are listening to, whichever dynamic you're in and you want to listen to, and it'll read it to you. And so I think that's another plus with
Definitely.
it as well, to be able to get that information. That's the most important thing, is that you have the information, because it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
It can be very frustrating without information.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
when you get the information, as you were saying a few moments ago, they're in their world. They have no idea about the world. I have my mom and my grandmother. Neither one of them know anything about COVID. Nothing. For them, the world is the same. They're in their own world. They're doing their own thing. It's their world. And even when the behaviors, happen, for them, they don't know any different. They think it's normal. And so they may be doing something, and particularly my mom may be doing something that she doesn't know it's not right to do, or, something else that, it may not make logical sense to you, because your mind is okay. And I often tell people, you
Yep.
have to go into their world.
Yeah,
If
you
they're
are so right.
yeah, it's like if they're saying the sky is blue, it
Yep.
does not make sense to say, no, it's not, it's red, because they're never going to understand that the sky is red. They're never going
Right.
to understand that anymore. And so you go along by saying, oh, okay, yeah, it is. Isn't that a pretty blue sky? You go where they are.
Yeah, definitely.
Or what I had to learn is, if they don't put on shoes or or whatever, put on clothes, different clothes, however way, it makes no sense to continue to say, do it this way, do it. It makes sense to you. To them, it doesn't. And so, today, my mom is going through this hair pulling thing. I tried this morning to brush it up so that, it would be up, and she didn't want to do that. She was ready to fight. What did I do? Okay. It's like, hey, it's not like she's going anywhere. We're at the house. If we were going out somewhere, definitely I would make sure that she is, appropriate. But I'm like, we're home. She doesn't want to do it. There's no need to get bothered or whatever else. It's like, okay, well,
Yep.
you want to
Keeping
sit here?
is like, yeah,
Yeah.
like so important too, especially because like there is that lack of like understanding. And because of that, it's you have to almost put yourself in their shoes. And sometimes we don't know how to do that. And we have to just stay patient and
Right.
sort of appease them when it's not something that harms them,
Right.
as they are, like you said, in their own world, and that is all that they understand and know right now. So we have to make that kind of as pleasant and cohabitable, I don't know if that's a word, as possible.
Will be today.
Yeah, we'll make it a word.
Yeah, I mean,
Already.
one of the other things she does quite often is she'll walk up to me as if there's something in her hand. And initially, when it first started, I would be like, there's nothing in your hand. But for her, there is. And
Right.
so what I started doing was, even though I know there's nothing in her hand, I just take it and I say, okay, thank you, because you just have to go where they are.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it make sense to them. And
Yes.
it's okay. Like you say, if they're not harming themselves,
Right.
go at it. Knock
Exactly.
yourself out,
I think it takes a lot of caregivers a long time to realize that the resistance part is, it just makes it harder on you
exactly.
at the end of it, because they just don't understand, and trying to find that common ground where you really just let them be who they are, if it's not something that's detrimental, really try and make them as comfortable as possible, because this is their reality.
Right. And that's where this information that you're sharing,
Yeah.
this
It's
website,
hard
that's
to
where they're
understand that when
coming.
you're first in that stage as a caregiver, trying
Yeah.
to understand your loved one.
Right.
This really does a good job of answering questions that, a lot of people have had for a long time without resources. And this could just be a great way to really just understand and help better interact with your loved one, and make it as good and healthy of a relationship as possible.
Yeah. And it helps
Because
to
we love them.
redirect your thinking as well,
Yeah.
because
We owe them that, for as long
absolutely.
as they've been in our lives. We want to try and be there for them, and have that relationship. It's important at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
And I tell people all the time, that's exactly, I do what I do because I always remember the sacrifices that were made for me.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
is a great sacrifice to be a caregiver. It is. It's a, you know, at 45 years old, you think that your life is going to be in a different place. You'll be at a different place. You never really expect to be in this place, but you realize, and for me, I say, it's a decision. I mean, it's a decision. You make the choice to do it, but I think that there's a difference between that decision and that you have to make the decision first to choose to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it wasn't a difficult situation because I remember, I understand now, especially being a parent, the sacrifices that were made. And so it's like, why not? It's just like,
Yeah.
how can I not make a sacrifice for the person who sacrificed their life for me?
Yeah.
Is it easy? No.
No,
It's
no,
not easy,
not at all.
hard. But you do it. And as my one of my shirts that I have says, we were graced for this. We understand that there's a certain level of grace that God gives us for wherever He allows us to be. No matter what situation you find yourself in, there's a level of grace that God has given you to be able to go through, endure, do whatever it is. And being a caregiver, there's a grace you get every day to be able to fulfill that obligation. And so me understanding that, it makes it a lot easier. But I do look at the resources. I do look for, what can help here, because not only is it not easy when you're caring for somebody with dementia, and let me tell you, it's like having little kids. I think I
Mm-hmm.
spent more time saying,
Yep.
no, stop, don't do that. No. They go backwards and they have
Right.
no
Yeah.
idea, but then it's almost like, you do. I think somebody said, once an adult, twice a child. And so we're at that twice a child moment. And so, you know, you have to learn how to balance being a caregiver. For me, being a caregiver, being a mom, and then having a life, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And a lot of times, or sometimes, your life ends up being the last thing on that burner,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the last thing, and it's a short amount of time. And then, it's hard sometimes to deal with your emotions and I mean, even the things that come at you in life because you're a caregiver, and you got to make sure they're okay. And sometimes that's where you can get stuck. But it's the resources that help you to kind of deal and look at it differently, to be able to put things in a different perspective as well. Okay, if this worked, then let me try this. And that's what a lot of that information is about, is providing you the tools to help you work this thing better, to help you build at it better. If you don't have all the tools that you need, it will take you forever to build a house.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have all the right tools
Yes.
in order
And
to
know where to look for them. And that is such
exactly.
a big barrier for a lot of people is, you have resources coming from here and here and here and here and here, but how do you know about them, and how do you know what's good? And you have to sort of piece it together yourself. It's not easy to do that. And there's such a lack of resources for family caregivers, which really make up such a bit. I mean, for every person that has dementia, there's a caregiver, at least one. And
Yeah.
so think about how many people's life have been affected by having to care for somebody, and how much that changes your life. And like you said, sometimes you get put on the back burner because on the front burner you have, the person that you're caring for, you have kids, you have other people who are depending on you. And a lot of times it is, you're stretched thin. But I think it's so important when you're that type of person that can give, and can care for and take care of the people that they love, that you do that you know that you're giving them a good experience and a good life, and you're kind of you're lucky to be with them, and so they're lucky to have you. And it's something that not a lot of people can do, and if you can, it's so special.
Yeah.
So I really think that having access to these kinds of resources really is so important for caregivers to have and feel like they have support, that they have some level of education, some way to approach things, and that they feel like, they're not the only one going through it.
Right.
They're not the only one yelling at their mom that they have to take a shower, and your mom's yelling at you, like, and it's a battle every day.
It is.
So
Trust me, I know.
it's nice to know that other people have the same kinds of battles every day in their life too. And it's really nice that, especially actually on in the study on this website, you can make comments and you can interact with other caregivers who are in your similar situation. And for this setting, these are caregivers who are in the research study around the state of Florida. And what's nice about it is that they can comment on modules that either are relevant to them, or some people share like words of wisdom, like, oh, this is what I do for my mom, this is kind of what works. They'll even share like products and things to keep track of medications. And someone told me about a robotic dog today, which was first for me. But an MP3 player, like, it's just all different kinds of things that can really just help support other caregivers, and knowing what some people do in their situation. It's taken them years to do. Sometimes kind of getting a head start can really save you so much grief and like banging your head against the wall for years. And that's kind of like a lot of people's realities. And hopefully we're making strides to make things better for the quality of life of caregivers, because it's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard.
And I think that is the most important thing as well, to be able to, because if you've tried what you think works and it's just not working, and somebody can give you something that's just slightly different, and
Mm-hmm.
you try that and you find that this works, it's like, it's a win-win.
It's like a light bulb, really.
It is. It's like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Because
Yeah,
I've
definitely.
been
Exactly.
searching for something like this. So, that's kind of like my thing. Prime example. I just moved recently over the last about month and a half, and at the other house, at my mom's house, my mom would get up in the middle of the night almost every night, and she would end up coming down to my room, and I kept my door locked because there's nothing in the world like you being asleep and 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, you wake up to somebody in your face. It's like,
Oh no. Oh my
I would
gosh.
keep the
Yeah.
door locked, but I had cameras and things so I could see. But um, it never dawned on me that I needed a night light, right? Because I figured she could go, she knew she was very familiar with the house, so she could go to the restroom with no issue. So I thought. And it wasn't until, because we had 2 bathrooms, and where my grandmother was sleeping, her bathroom was right there. And so she's able, try not to let her get up too much at night, but if she had to, she could maneuver with her walker to the bathroom. And so one morning, I get up, my grandmother was up, and so I get up and I go on. And when I get in there, my grandmother's like, well, you need a match, because she was used to striking matches, for her little in her bathroom. And of course, we don't strike. My grandmother's 96, so go figure. She's like, matchbox or something in here because there's no light. And a light bulb literally came on in my head at that point, like, night light. And I had a friend of mine tell me, go get a night light and put a, and I kid you not, the night light was such it was like
Your savior.
So I put nightlight in both bathrooms, one in the kitchen. And literally when I put the nightlight in the kitchen, because my mom had to go through the kitchen to get to the bathroom that she used, that she was familiar with. So I put the nightlight in the kitchen, the nightlight in the bathroom, and literally she would not get up and walk around. And I realized she was doing that because she couldn't see. And because she couldn't see in the dark, it was enough that she could get up and go through, but being able to have it lit where it was, it wasn't like light, but enough light that she could go there, get back. And I didn't have any more issues.
Yep. And actually, that's such a good point, actually, because like visual impairment is such a big part of disorientation. So like when someone can't see, or even if any sense really, if any sense is impaired by lighting or noise or whatever, that is such a big part of making someone feel like they have no idea where they are.
Right.
So it's funny that you say that, because sometimes you don't even realize what they're thinking, or what is the problem, and how do I figure out this solution? And then all of a sudden something just goes off and you're like, that's why. That makes sense.
I never put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
Because I just figured,
because they can't express themselves the way that they used to, and say, I can't see anything.
Right. I figured with the familiarity of her home, she just knew how to go. And because, I would notice, or I knew that she went. It's just I didn't realize how much of a difference a night light.
Yeah.
And so now, moving to a new place, I have a night light in her room, and her room is like literally the restroom. She walks out her room, the restroom is right there. So I keep the night light on in the restroom, night light on in her room. And so far, thank God, we've not had that issue.
Mm-hmm.
But it took, I've been there 2 years.
Yeah, a lot of time. And
exactly. And so it's stuff like this that you get this information in. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but Kiska Smith. She's saying thank you for the information. She's going to follow up with the available resources. Please contact. I have this information. Please contact her. And that's to all of my caregiver. If you're caring for someone with a cognitive disability, impairment. I'm sorry, I work for disability, right? But a cognitive impairment, please contact her. I mean, this is and it can only help you
Mhm.
with this information. I mean, there's a plethora of information out there. It's great for you to, and if you know anybody, let me say that, if you know anybody who's caring for someone, and it doesn't have to be their loved one, it could be, they could be working for someone, and they have a cognitive impairment, they can be working. This is great tools for them as well. So please share this. I'm going to have this video. It is on YouTube. It's streaming live on YouTube right now. I'm also going to put it on my website, and you'll see my website down there now. You can go to my website. You can view it there. There's also some other information on there. I put a link to, and Katie, I want to make sure, I mean, I put it out there. So if they click on the link, the resources are going to come up. So you can tell me afterwards if that's not what you want me to do before they actually sign up.
I mean, they can, yeah, it's totally fine. They can browse
Yeah.
the website. It's actually, it'll tell you about, how they got started. And it's actually a good sort of introduction into what they have to offer. So I totally encourage it. Although in order to get access, you will have to be enrolled in the research study. So that's sort of the main component. And so, check out the website and then shoot me an email if you're interested, and I will give you a call as soon as I can. Like I said, we're wrapping up recruitment really, really soon. So trying to get as many people in as we can, because we think that this is such a great opportunity and great resource for so many caregivers. I wish I could just, have a, give it to everybody that is a caregiver, honestly. So I really hope to hear from a lot of you, and excited to get caregivers some more resources that can help them.
Yeah, so you'll have her email address there. If you miss it, give me a call, or if you want information before you call her to say, hey, do I really want to call me? Contact me. And I can tell you, you all know I don't share anything that's not worth sharing. And I felt like this was worth sharing. Even when I talked with her Monday, I'm like, hey, let's do this, because I try my best to get information and knowledge out there, because I want all of us to be as knowledgeable as we can be. And as my mission says, I'm just on here sharing information because we're all on the same journey. We might be on a different road, but we're all on the same journey. And that is, caregiving, being the best caregivers that we can be. And without, knowledge is very much power.
Yeah,
You empower
absolutely.
yourself with the knowledge to be able to do what you're doing the best that you can. And we want to give, I know me, I like to give my absolute best to everything I do. And I think that as a caregiver to my mom and my grandmother, who I believe gave me the best of what they had, I think it's only right for me to give them the best of what I can give. And I look at this, for me, it is, it's a level 2 of ministry and servitude, to be able to serve. And that's what I use a lot. Being able to care it's serving. It's being able to allow God to use you to show his love to your parents or whoever it is you're caring for, because you're just an extension of him. And so, people don't always, nobody knows. I don't know. None of us know what the next moment will hold, what tomorrow. We never know what life will bring us. It doesn't have to be a cognitive impairment. You never know what's going to happen when you walk out, and when you will need somebody to extend care to you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you don't do it just for that, but you give the best that you have, so that peradventure, if it has to come back, you've done well enough that
Yeah.
people will do well by you, and so, just wanted to come on. I know it had been a minute. I've been extremely busy, to say the least,
I'm
transitioning to a
sure.
new place and having to, and adjusting and all of that. So I haven't been as available, but I am, working on some things to make sure that we can get even more information like this, where I can be on. It's not always easy sometimes. I try to keep with the Thursdays at 7, but depending on what's going on, because that's the other thing about being a caregiver for, someone with dementia. There's no day that's the same.
Mm-mm.
They are all different. And sometimes, you can be worn out and exhausted. I know, like over the last about 2 weeks, for me, it's been being up at night because, it's like babies. I tell you, it's just like babies, they sleep during the day. And then when it's time for you to lay down at night to go to sleep, then they want to be up. And so like over the last about 2 weeks, I'm dealing with like 3-4 hours of sleep, so much so that week before last, I ended up sick and, laid in my bed because I couldn't, I had a
Right.
headache. I don't think I've had a headache that bad ever. But
I know we can't afford sickness nowadays. We got to
exactly.
take care of ourselves too as
Yeah.
caregivers, and that's not easy.
Right.
But we have to do it.
Yes, because I hadn't, I was on a lack of sleep because, like I said, time I got ready to go to bed, it's like my grandmother would get up and I'm like, no, it's
Please. Yeah.
And so then she's up, and then I'm watching my mom and trying to make sure she's not up, because that's the other thing. And hopefully, as I go through these resources, I can find an answer to this. But for whatever reason, for the last about a month, she's been on this spitting thing. So it's like she has to spit ever so often. And the thing about dementia is you could spit anywhere. It's like they don't know. They just know I have to spit. And so we have to watch and make sure that, she's just not spitting everywhere. So usually, it's been good. So far, it's been in the bathroom. However, you still have to go because you want to make sure that it goes in the right place.
Yeah, you're still on guard,
Exactly. So, those are the type of things that you deal with, when it does. It becomes a lot sometimes. And so you have to sit back. And that's what I had to realize is that, because I'll keep going and going and going. And then my body just finally says, okay, you won't slow down, then I'm going to slow you down. And I try not to get to that place, but it happens.
It happens to all of us at some point.
So,
we got to try and stay healthy and take care of ourselves as much as possible.
Yep. And so I definitely appreciate the resources. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do it. I was excited. I got the email. I'm like, absolutely. However I can help. I don't mind. I haven't gotten all the way to the place where I'm ready to say, okay, I'm going to be involved in the research that goes further. Because, I remember asking my mom's neurologist right around the time when I took her to the neurologist and got the definite diagnosis. And I asked him when I was there, like, hey, is there any type of testing that myself or my siblings can get to, kind of see where things lie with us? And if you study dementia, you study Alzheimer's, you realize that women, for whatever reason, women get it at a 2 times faster rate than men. And so, but I remember her doctor saying to me, he said, there is testing. He said, but I wouldn't do it. And I'm like, why? Actually, this was her medical doctor that told me this. Wasn't the neurologist. I had taken her to the neurologist and we went back to him for a follow-up. And he said, but I wouldn't do it. And, I'm like, well, why? And he said, if I did it, he said, and it showed something, he said, you would worry yourself to death, because you're trying to figure out, well, when is it going to happen?
Yeah.
So he's like, I would never do it. And it makes sense to me because it's like,
definitely.
You really want to know. And here's the reality. I don't know how many other people, I'm sure, especially if it's something that appears to be hereditary. There are days when, you do have that thought like, well, what if this happens to me? That's the reality of it, especially when you've seen it so much. I don't know if that was your case, if you thought that, it's like, you
And they
know.
say early onset is more heritable, potentially. And so, there are totally times where I, as, a daughter of someone with Parkinson's, I'm thinking, oh my God, is that a symptom? Do I have
Right.
to be like, it's very, it can be really, really worrying sometimes, thinking like, is it going to happen to me? But sometimes at some level you have to live your life and kind of, you know, take what comes, and when it comes to you, then you handle it. And until then, you have to just continue to live your life.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
erase those thoughts. I'm like, no. I mean, I can sit here sometimes and be typing, and I'm like, can't remember. And I'm like, and that's the first thing that comes
Yep.
up. And I'm like, no, I just forgot. I mean,
That's
because
normal.
when you deal with it and you see it, because it
Right.
is,
It's your everyday reality.
yeah,
It's, of
and it's
course, that's, where
painful.
your mind goes.
Yeah, it's a very I call it the most disrespectful disease
Yeah.
there is.
Yes.
It's
The first time I
disrespectful.
heard that, but I actually really love that, that sort of saying.
Yeah.
I think it's so true.
Yeah, I say it's rude and it's disrespectful because it doesn't care. It takes away. And when you're constantly in it and you're constantly watching how it, your loved one, it's almost like they're in a battle, because the reality is they know that something is wrong.
Oh, yeah.
They can't
They have that
articulate it.
level of
Yeah. They
understanding,
can't
which
articulate
is
what's going on, but they know
heartbreaking.
that something is not right.
Right.
Yesterday uh, morning, I was up. My mom had gotten up, and periodically, it doesn't happen a whole lot, thank God. But yesterday, she got up, and there was such a fear. I mean, it was like a, you know, stop you in your tracks fear, even though we were the only two up and I was in the house, and she had just gotten up, but she was like terrified, fearful, like, and I'm telling her, go get back in your bed. I can't, I'm scared. And I mean, you could literally see
Yeah.
and feel the fear. When you watch something like that, it pulls at everything in you, because you want to be able to help them, and
You don't
there's
know
nothing you
how.
can do. Right. It's like, it's nothing you can do. And to see somebody, because my mom was always very well kept. She was a tailor, seamstress by trade, so very well kept. I mean, she was where I get a lot of it from. She was the OCD of OCD when it came. I mean, clothes were like color coordinated. Like,
Right.
I didn't go as far. I don't go as far as she did, but I mean, literally, and probably because she had the steamer and all that stuff. But she would literally wash and iron all of her clothes and
Wow.
look them up in the closet by color. And it's like,
Right.
you just got too much time on your hands. It's too much. But literally, I mean, every time you saw her, she was dressed to the T.
Yeah.
And like, to go from that to just, you can't. Sometimes when I'm trying to assist her with putting on clothes, it's like, you don't tell me what to do, and I know how to
Hmm.
put on my clothes, and it's like, I mean, I've seen, you name it, I've seen it. I mean, she has come out with, a shirt on the bottom, or and you just never know.
Yeah.
And so to watch that day in and day out, it can really, tug at everything in you. And
Yeah.
so, you gotta find that out. You gotta have
That
those,
lifeline.
yeah. And I think these resources are a great place to go for that.
Yeah, it
And like I
is.
said, between them, this website, Alzheimer's Association, I think that is a very solid group of information, or cluster of
Hmm.
information that will be extremely helpful. But if you can
Yeah.
participate, and we're going to get ready to get off. Didn't mean to keep you on here an hour. We've been on an hour, so we're going to get ready to get off. But at any rate, just to those of you that are watching, and you don't have to be in Tallahassee, okay? This study is going on all across the state of
Oh, yeah.
Florida. So no matter where you are in the state of Florida, I know I have some Facebook friends on here. I see some of my Lake Wells crew on here. So if you are anywhere in the state of Florida, you can participate in this study. And it's just simply, it's a benefit to you
Mm-hmm.
in your caregiving role. If you know someone, if you work in a doctor's office and you have patients who are dealing with, I mean, I love what you said earlier, Katie, about this information, because had I had this information, I'm like you, I mean, I would have been way ahead of the game.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
I've taken the time to be able to research and to find other information because, one, I need to know what this information is. I need to know, because of where it is and how it runs and has
Right.
been in my family. But, to be able to also put this information out there for other people, I
Right.
think it is, I mean,
It's great. And to be able to access it from the comfort of your own home, it's like it's all virtual. If you can literally hop onto your internet and type in a website, it is as easy as that. And I think that's the whole point of it, is to really get caregivers of any age, as long as you're over 18. I have people who are like in their 80s, and they're caring for their spouse. It can really just make a difference. And also it's for people of all educational backgrounds. It's easy to understand, it's interactive, and I just think it is so valuable for caregivers who are going through this. You don't have to spend years banging your head against the wall trying to figure out like, how do I get my loved one to shower or brush their teeth, or even um, as important as putting a nightlight in your bathroom to help your mom see at night. So I'm really excited for this resource to get some traction and popularity, because it is so valuable. And I've just heard so many great things from all the caregivers I work with.
Yep. So we're gonna put this out there for you. Thank you again, you all, everybody that tuned in tonight. Thank you all so much. When we go off, feel free to share it. It'll be on YouTube on My Favorite Girls and Alzheimer's page. There's also other information on that page as well, videos that we've done in the past, some other information that we've shared. I see Audrey was on here. I'm not sure if she's still on here, but I'm going to get Audrey on here one day real soon with the Alzheimer's Association. She does a lot of great trainings, and gonna get her on here real soon so we can talk about some other stuff. But as I always say, this is about us learning together. We're on the journey, and we want to do it. And I forgot to pull my image up, but you all know as well, those of you that follow me, that I also have a t-shirt line now for caregivers, and the most recent t-shirt out there, also mugs. So I have a mug out there. The mug, I'm always going the wrong way on this thing, but t-shirt just like this, and it says keep going, keep pushing, keep loving, keep caring. That's what we want you to do. And that came about because there are days as a caregiver, there are days when I have to talk to myself and tell my own self, hey, you got to keep going, you got to keep pushing, you got to keep loving, and by all means you have to keep caring, because if we don't care for our loved ones, I mean, just by virtue of my profession, I've seen
It's a domino effect.
yeah, I'm like, I've gone in places where, they don't have family. They don't have people that even check in. And it's unfortunate. Sometimes people put their loved ones in these facilities and they walk away because they feel like somebody else is doing it, or, it's too hard for them to do. And, I just keep in the back of my mind all the time. I can't imagine how every day wasn't easy for my mom. Every day wasn't easy for my grandmother. And so, I can imagine walking away from them, especially at a time when they need me the most. But it happens. And so there are days as caregivers when you have to talk to your own self. And sometimes I'm in the mirror, sometimes I'm walking around and I'm just saying, hey, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep loving. And so my t-shirts, those are on my website as well. So feel free. Another t-shirt, it's right there on the bottom, my saying that I coin caregiver. It's love wrapped up in a matter of choice. So you can get that t-shirt. There's also another one out there that says Caregiver, I was graced for this. And so all of that is available. We have some other things that are coming up, but the Caregiver line, it's called My Favorite Girls Inspirational Caregiver Tees. And I named it that, of course, after my favorite girl. But the whole purpose of the t-shirt line, it's not a money maker or anything like that. It's just simply out of my desire to inspire other caregivers to be able to keep doing what you're doing. I often, in my Caregivers Corner, I often, put out there, thank you for showing up, because everybody doesn't show up, even those who could. Granted, everybody can't be a caregiver. Everybody's not built for it. But, for those that show up, because there's some that could show up, that could do it, who don't. And so I always say thank you for showing up, for being there, for loving your loved ones, for giving all of you. So that is what the Inspirational Caregiver Tees and memorabilia is all about. When you sit down on a hard day, when it might not be such a good day, you can put on the shirt and be inspired to do it again another day. You can look at the mug, drink the coffee out of it, water, whatever you drink, and say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing this. It might be hard, but I have to keep caring. And that's what that's all about. So check it out on my website. The website, of course, is my name, www.priscillajjeanlouis.com. You can go to that website and find all of that. Thank you again, Katie. I appreciate your time. I appreciate this resource. I'm thankful again for the Alzheimer's Project and Audrey, who actually reached out to me about connecting with you and doing this. My time has been kind of, everything coming together, but I'm appreciative for this opportunity.
Yeah, and, so happy to do this, and just so grateful to be, just around other caregivers. You guys are really just the heart of everything. Such angels, really. So I'm just really excited to be here, and thank you for having me. It was just great to be a part of this.
Thank you. All right, and we'll be in contact. We're going to stay in contact even after the study, because there's some things we can work on together.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you again. Hopefully, I'll be back on next Thursday. Thank you all so much.